Very briefly, we're most of the way through the first action phase in August of 1950. But what I wanted to show to you was, well, in particular, the North Koreans have failed. There's no tight Busan perimeter as there was historically and as there usually is in the game. There's no chance that the UN forces are going to fail as far as I can see. What we've got is a major line down here around Taegu, I believe it's called. U.S. forces moving up the East Coast Road and challenging the North Koreans. We got that lone unit heading off towards Seoul. I'm actually thinking about doing an Incheon invasion early. And, well, we've got down here at, whatever. That's not Busan, that's Masan. That's actually fortified and fairly well defended. I'm considering bugging out of there to handle things over here on the East Coast. But, and we've got North Koreans somewhat cut off by an audacious move by a regiment with some armor support. But in particular, what I wanted to show at this moment, rather than the situation, although we'll say we got handled that. I've got one operation point with the U.S., and I'm considering activating this ROK unit. Now, if I do and choose to attack, it has to attack both these Chinese units. Nothing big and surprising there. But when it does so, both the U.S. units are also involved in the attack, along with whatever assets they have. All told, that will end up being a 23-8 because of the supply considerations everybody's at normal supply essentially in this situation. So I'd be a little off of where I'd want to be. I'd be on the 2-to-1 chart in bad terrain. I'm probably not going to do it even with armored support. I'll calculate it out and see. So here we are at the end of August 1950. And yeah, this is the weirdest game by far I've ever played of this. Normally, it actually really seems to follow history the way I set up the initial attacks and the reactions, etc. This time it hasn't, which is cool, but I really kind of wanted to show how close to history the game usually ends up. Okay, so first of all, because of the oddness that we were facing, I chose not to escalate the U.S. involvement at all. Did a little bit of bombing in the Seoul region just to prevent traffic from getting through easily. We had the main depots placed, and the North Koreans managed for the second phase to get an accelerated commitment, which allowed them to attack a little bit harder than they normally would be able to. That wasn't enough. Normally Taegu falls by now, but we've got a pretty strong force defending that sector. I pulled down 2 more regiments from this because it just wasn't going to go forward without the supply. On the other hand, we've got this fight going on down here in Cholla, where the North Koreans are almost completely defeated here. We've got one North Korean full division trying to sneak through the mountains. Obviously, I've got to do something about that, because, I mean, eventually it would get to Busan, which ends the game. We had that one Republic of Korea unit, which went and took Seoul, actually. I was planning on an Incheon invasion, but instead ended up making a landing down here to help cut this. I'm trying to cut the depot that the North Koreans were using. Now, obviously, I can't do that before they get a chance to move it, but it may force them to fall back. But it is interesting what happened in Seoul. I had to pull back one of the units from back here in the in sort of the staging area for the Taegu attack to take Seoul back because it's just worth too many points. And I pulled the division down from Pyongyang. Now, all of this actually looks better in some ways for the North Koreans than usual. Not in the sense that they're in a better chance of winning the game at this point. But in terms of their position looks a little less extended than sometimes it does, although the Taegu area, I don't know. I'm just babbling at this point. What is definitely the case is that the UN victory points are higher than they normally would be at this point. They got 9 more this turn because they were able to clear so many towns. So I think my limited intervention tactic is going to be stronger than it even usually is. I'm not even rolling on the global tensions track yet. Now, the one problem with this is we have some serious losses that aren't being recuperated quickly. So I'm probably going to have to escalate the mobilization level a little bit. Not the commitment, but the mobilization, which affects amphibious assaults, and it affects recovery of units, because you obviously cannot fight without at a half recuperation rate. It's just not going to be possible, I think.